Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Chad Wienen, thank you so much for joining ATV Talk. I want to say this before we get going, brother. You've had a storybook career, and it came to a storybook ending at the ATV-MX. And I say ending not as an ending, but ending of a season. You have so much more to do in our industry. Where you're going to go and what you're going to do, I don't know yet, but hopefully you're going to give us some insights to that. And congratulations on just a stellar ATV MX portion of your life.
Yeah, thanks, Leonard. Thanks for having me on. It's been good to me, man. It's been a great ride running ATV Pro MX, and like you said, man, to end it on a win, a walk-off win, I call it. So, yeah, that'll be my right now. I mean, I still stand true to that. I've never felt so complete after that final round of ATV Pro MX at Briarcliff and winning that last round. Man, it was incredible. I've been digging for that all year long, and a lot of times it felt like it was going to be a long shot, but I was really starting to come into my own later on in the year, and man, just everything lined up for me. So it's pretty awesome to share that with so many friends and family that were there.
Oh, I bet. The boxers use the term ring rust. You had a year off with an injury, and you came back. And if the season would have been longer, do you think you would have gotten stronger?
I feel like it, yeah, but I mean, I was also like just getting fatigued myself. It's a long season, and especially we had that stretch of those four East Coast rounds where each of those rounds it felt like it was an eternity to drive to those events, but it was good. I definitely had a little bit of ring rust in the beginning of the year at certain rounds. Like I felt good at some rounds, and then other rounds I wasn't getting like that feeling on the machine that you know I was looking for. And when that happens, I really don't ride. Like years past, I'd be able to like basically ride myself out of those situations, and this now I think with the injuries and stuff, I think a lot more about you know what my limits are, and I stay within those.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
totally, uh, I totally understand that. I
yeah.
mean, as we get a little older, sometimes bending over to pick up a pin might throw your back out. Not that you're in that, not that you're in that
Yeah.
category.
I don't think I'm not there yet, but I'll take your word for it with that.
uh, with all the things that we've experienced and the
Yep.
little injury here, little injury there, you're always going to feel them. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think just being one with the machine, and when days like that line up, like I knew from the get-go of like morning qualifying that I was like feeling loose and feeling ready, and just on fire on the machine. Like I came around, it was in the first qualifying session. I came around, and that we were probably about four laps in or 5 laps in, and Thomas put P1 on the board, where I'm like, oh, like we're there. So just to see that, it just fired me up the rest of the day and carried me.
that's little things that always push you or always set the tone for the day.
Yeah.
Um, let's go back a little bit in your career. Did you have moments like that when you were younger rider, where the morning ride or the morning conversation set the tone for the day?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just like your mental mentality, and just some days you just feel on, and you had a good practice week, and you just feel like one on the machine, and that's just it's hard to gather that up at every race, but I mean, I went, several years where I could do that. And, nowadays it's got to be the right day and the right time, the right amount of rest for my body and all that. But yeah, like, going back in days, you know, I remember, being I was on my privateer Honda, and lining like having an awesome off season. I was in Texas at D Manchak's place down in Texas, and man, I just had an incredible off season. It just felt easy to me, and I went to the races, and nobody really knew who I was. I mean, they really, it was a surprise when I came on to like that 2007 year, and you know, that reminds me of like what you're asking me is just like when things just go right and you're just feeling it. So, definitely that's one of the moments that really stick out for me.
I usually save things like this for the end, but what do you say to the critics that think that maybe Chad Wienen shouldn't have raced last year?
Um, like you're saying, like going into this year?
No, like going into 2025, there were people out there that were saying, Chad, you shouldn't do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think the risk factor, and like, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm a natural competitor, and I feel like if I didn't go out and give it that even a last try or even a go, like maybe this could have went on a couple more years for me, but just uh, I feel like I have more controlled racing and doing that than I do on most things during the daily. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't hear like a lot of that, but I know that people were thinking that, like, what do you have to prove, and this and that, and it wasn't anything to prove to anything more than myself. That you I want to make sure that I am complete, and I'm wanting to move on to the next chapter in my life, because I mean, I see a lot of guys that go basically step away from racing due to an injury, and I wanted to do it on my own terms, and this was kind of the perfect way for me to do it for me.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. The conversation you had with your wife in 2024, I'm sure probably is pretty private, but um, I don't think you'd have done it if you didn't have her support. Am I right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, she puts a lot of trust in me and what I love to do, and she knows that it means a lot to me, because I wouldn't. I always tell her, like, if I'm not in it, I'm out. Like, if my mental side, I don't feel like I can do it or anything like that. I'm scared. It's time for me to step away, and I live by those words, because racing ATV or MX is it's not something to be done if you don't love it and enjoy it and need that in your life, and so it was definitely some good conversations, and I got two kids, and there's a lot of life ahead for me, and whether it was with racing or with the family.
I think that that's pretty awesome that you have a partner that backs you and cares about you at the same time, and it
Oh
just
yeah.
makes it easier for you.
Yeah, I mean, a short little story. Even like this weekend, I've been on the go a lot with the nations, and the Ford wedding and stuff like that. So I've been kind of really going, and I was just in Canada this past weekend, doing some testing with a young rider that I work with, Andrix Beeland, and went up there. I took my gear with me. They have one of my old machines that they got that they have there, and I did some riding with him to see where he's at, because he's stepping up to the 450 machine next year on a Yamaha, and kind of a good test with him. And it was at a race, and they were like, "Man, you want to race?" I'm like, "You know what? Let me call my wife and make sure everything's cool with her, because this is like me, like starting to step away from racing and stuff like that, and had a good conversation with her, and she trusts me. She trusts my judgment and trusts my ability, and you know, even though she wasn't there, she's like, yeah, like go have fun, and that means the world to me. And I know that in this next chapter, I'm gonna do the same for her and just make sure that she gets to do a lot of things that she missed out on. And I mean, we might never get those back, but make some new memories together and just enjoy our time.
That's freaking outstanding, man.
Yep.
Wow. There's a lot of knowledge and insight in what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, Take us back a little bit to the beginning when you
Uh,
first started
which
to be
what's that?
when you first started to be a pro.
Oh man. Let's see. 2004 was my first year stepping into the pro ranks, and I did 2 rounds that year. Actually, it used to be a thing where riders would step up early and get a couple races before they did a full-time season. And myself, Jeremy Lawson, and a couple other riders stepped up at High Point, and we did the race there. And I remember there was 32 riders that were trying to qualify that day, and I am just like crap. Like I had to try and qualify into the pro race, and we used to do it through a qualifying race, and I qualified 16th out of the qualifier, so I'd have to go to the LCQ. Like it was awesome. And even like High Point is kind of a track that I'm not like my strong suit there, I guess, but just very proud of stepping into the pro ranks my first time with 32 riders trying to qualify and qualifying through. And I believe I ended up like 18th that day on the Sunday race. And so I mean it's just it's like one of those things where um it didn't like, if anything, it driven me to go there and qualify in. And I think it might have given me like a different feel if I went there and I didn't qualify, because I'd be like, man, like it's gonna be a long road. But once I got that taste of line up on the pro gate with all those top guys, and building every single weekend, and there were some weekends that went great and others that went just terrible. So it was, but it never once in my mind was I like ever defeated. If anything, it was like fueling my fire to want to go out and get better and be stronger. And it just pushed me to where I'm at today. And being one of the best guys in the sport is is pretty damn cool.
Did you ever miss football?
Oh yeah, I've always like kind of had this joke with friends and stuff that if this racing didn't work out, I was gonna go back to college and try to play football. And I enjoyed that a lot. It was, I think the tough thing was like you're depending on so many people to do their job. And you know uh and that you need a full team that everybody does their job for you to go out and have success in that sport. And I think that's how special like team sports is like that. And it's never like one individual that just makes you win. Everybody has to do their job.
So you've been an athlete pretty much your whole entire life.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
When did you start playing football?
Like for us, like we didn't play football until maybe like fourth, fifth grade. Like we would start playing flag football, and like a lot of places, like maybe bigger towns, they start tackle at like so young, like third grade, fourth grade, maybe. And like we didn't start playing football, but we were always, my friends and I, we were always out. We were always going to the football games. We'd bring a football with us. We'd be playing games ourselves, pickup games, whether it's baseball, basketball, it didn't really matter. We were always out, always going in a big group, and that all made us better and even more competitive. A lot of, like, we had our class reunion, uh, let's see, last year, and man, just awesome to reunite with like a lot of those guys, and they still have that competitive spirit, and so it's really cool. And they follow, like a lot of them follow what I do, and they love to see the success, and that means a lot to me because, they help kind of bring that, that edge that, I have.
Is it or was it different going back to the class reunion, and maybe some of the people didn't know that you were an accomplished multi-time national champion or even on the world stage?
Just like the small town that I come from, everybody kind of knew what I did and stuff like that, and they followed. They've been to some races and too. So, but yeah, no, it's really cool to, you know, I mean, if anything, it was actually more of just talking about old memories in school, and it wasn't a whole lot about like how racing is, which I like because you get that so much, and it's almost hard to disconnect. And that was one of those times to disconnect, so it was really nice.
Other than your class reunion, what did you do to disconnect?
Oh, let's see, like some friends, like I like to try and go play golf with them. It's not very often, but like my biggest disconnect is my family. Just spending family time with my wife's family is very close, so we do a lot of things together, and then also like my family as well. Like, just try to be normal in that aspect, and especially when I'm home in Illinois, it's hard to get away from it because having the track in the backyard. I call it like the ultimate playground for somebody that races moto, so it's hard to get away from it, but I love it that much that I want to be around it. And then, when it's time to step away from it, like we put in a pool last year, so it's nice to have that with the kids. It's perfect timing for them to be splashing around the pool. They love being in there. And then I built a little like pump track for my son to ride his bicycle on, and just things like that. And like, you know, my father comes up and watches the kids, and my mother-in-law, they watch the kids. So Danica and I can have our alone time and go be adults again, growing up the kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because it seems that a racer's wife or a wife of a professional athlete has it a little tough because a lot of times she ends up on the back seat.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's behind every good man is an even better woman. I'm a believer of that because, if she didn't put up with my crap that I that I put on her at times, and all the weight of basically the weight of, the raising the family at times. And, it's good to have somebody like that. And, and we call it, now this next chapter is Danica time. So it's on for her to kind of pave the path of what she wants to do, and I support her through it, and it's going to be fun.
So as you progress into that, what are some of the things that maybe you've never done before that you want to go do as far as racing wise?
Oh, like racing, like I think big things like I feel like I'm a good coach for the riders that I work with, and I enjoy that a lot to see their progress. And it's just kind of a smooth transition for me away from that full-time racing. And you get that rush, that same similar rush, I guess, to see theirs live through their success. And I think it's all about the rider and the person they are, how appreciative they are of you, and they trust you and what you teach them. And like even I got approached, and I'm working out details actually with Yamaha to be like an ambassador for them. And I think that's going to be a smooth transition for me to still be a part of the sport and be a part of what I love so much, and still be in the racing realm and be able to do fun things with the Yamaha brand. And looking to like try to do more with my other sponsors and carry them and try to be a face of their brand even past my full-time racing.
Dude, I think some of your sponsors will be with you for life, because of the relationships you've probably built with them, go way deeper than rider sponsor.
Yeah, yeah. That's what you want out of what you build throughout the years of racing, and you always it just feels great to hear from people that that so much more than just a rider to them, and it's awesome that you can build those relationships with those people, and being with a lot of sponsors for up like we're closing on 15 years or more, so it's really cool to have those long lasting relationships, even relationships that came to a close sponsor wise, but also continued past that, as a friend and as a supporter. Like I get so many messages from past supporters that I no longer run their product, but they just say, like, how proud they are of me and what we've accomplished, and proud that they were able to be a part of the journey. So that's super cool to me, and I just want to kind of mold riders to be more like that, just not be, like one door closes and another one opens, but you also continue that relationship with that door that closed, and it's not just because somebody's riding for somebody that you just don't have, you cut off all of communication. You just still try to keep those relationships going, because there's good people behind those brands.
As a coach, how hard is it to convey to a young rider that they need to build long lasting relationships with sponsors?
Um, like realistically, I think it's like kind of built through like their belief in me, where like I show them, like, hey, like I've had this sponsor for 15 years. Like, I know their birthday, I know their spouse, I know a lot about them, and just the ones that really matter are the ones that you like really dig in deep with, and you just learn more than just a phone number or an email, so it's something that's like you said, it's built, but um that's it's a building process, and it's just part of just who I am and what I want to kind of push on those riders. But and I think the riders that I'm working with, it's kind of like hand selected. I I really won't put my effort into somebody that I don't believe is maybe gonna have my same outlook on life and outlook on racing and being a good person on top of that.
I like that. I have some more to that, but this portion of the conversation uh, comes from my Patriot side with Quadcross of Nations. I know that you were one of the spearheads to it, um,
Mhm.
and what an honor it is to be picked to do something like that. Uh, 2025 didn't exactly go as the team wanted it to, but you guys were at a super tough race course. Um, do you see yourself in 2026 or in the future? What's your role going to be with the nations team?
Honestly, I'm definitely going to be a part of it. Like, there's some people there that want me to really put a lot of and do like a big role in it. I think it's just tough. It's very tough for me because like I love that race. I love everything about it, and I think it's more of like the I'm gonna obviously be there. I know that I'm gonna be a part of it, and I want to see it continue to grow. I don't want that like a team manager role, per se, at this moment, because I still wanna I still wanna be like.
Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs.
Not necessarily like totally involved with, that big role. I want to I want to pick and choose what I want to do, if the riders are going to be there on, Monday or something like that, and I can't be there, I don't want to be that guy that is like, hey, like I got to be here with my family for certain things, but you guys go on without me. I'll catch you later on the week. Like that's not fair to the team. That's not fair to really anybody. So, um, and I made a promise to my wife that, this is going to be it's gonna be more about, her in this next chapter and not about like everything that I want to do. So I'll definitely be a big part of it. Like maybe it'll grow into being a part of that role, but this is like, me, really trying to find find out more what's next in the chapter of Chad Wienen, and I feel like I have a lot to give there for Team USA. I want to ease into the role and not just dive right in, because I'd rather be like a rider coach with them, and talk to riders and help them through situations. Because, I've been through a lot of situations, including this year. It was the toughest year of, the nations we've ever had. And I think that, just I think with me being the age that I am, I think if I was, in maybe 35 years old or so, that, 5 years ago, I might have been able to push through and not care so much about the terrain and how I was kicking my butt around the track and just deal with it and go faster. But um, just where I'm at in my racing right now, and I make sure that I come home safely before, first and foremost at these times.
Nobody would expect anything different.
Yeah,
You know, uh, I think that terrain was a shock to the team, don't you?
it definitely was. Just the difference in the setup that we were kind of pushed to run, and I think we were a little naive of going over there and being like, ah, we'll figure it out, like we'll be all right. And I went over with my sand setup that I had here in the States, but it wasn't nearly quite enough of ground clearance that we needed to get around the track the way that, the other riders were. It was pretty incredible how fast they could ride around that stuff.
In a couple of the shows I've done, I've made I've made the comment that we have nothing like that here in the States. If you want that kind of racing, you have to go to Europe or South America.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, talking to a lot of riders there too, they're saying that like this was uncommon to them, and at a certain extent, because the sidecars were it was so gnarly with the sidecars there too. Um and I think typically they'll prep the track, in between their races, at like their let's say the their sand championship there and stuff like that they do. They do a little more prep, but it was kind of the perfect storm. And it's as bad as it's a bummer for us, but it's good for racing. Like we it's not saying that we couldn't go on and continue to dominate, but it's also good for, the sport to you know, to have somebody else that stepped up to the plate and they were able to pull it off and get a win.
A silver medal's still nothing to shake a stick at. It's
No,
still
no, it's not. And I think each of us, Joel, Bryce, and myself, we all had our own battles on the track, and I think just the way it went down, and I'm proud of the way like how much effort and man the team worked so hard to try and accommodate our needs on the track, and uh, definitely no lack of effort. And I know that we're all bummed, but we're all proud. We're like, I mean, I'll tell you that there was so many times that last moto, I was like, man, this is like the most brutal I've ever felt on a track in a long, long time. Just beat, worn out, my frame's hitting the ground so much and just beating the piss out of me. And I'm like, all right, just try as hard as you can, keep going. I was like, tell myself 2 laps at a time, 2 laps, just keep going, 2 laps. And, it was, you know, it was one of those deals that it was a struggle for us, and I know it was a struggle for a lot of other riders on the track too. And it was, but proud of the team, proud of everybody involved, and I think if we come back in the next years to go back to a sand race like that, I think we're going to be a lot more prepared. Being seeing what we were up against.
before we get on to the rest of our conversation about who we're here to talk about, do you think that possibly this was a great thing for the team as a whole? So it woke us back up to the fact that, yeah, we may have dominated these many times, but we still have to perform and raise the bar for everybody else if we're going to continue to do this.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's good because I mean, I guess the biggest thing is like the pressure that carries over there. Like, yes, like it's gonna carry on, but it's not like it stopped at that one moment. But like, I think that we were getting pretty comfortable of like it's bound that we're gonna go over there and just continue to dominate. Where you know, I think just the team can have some we can all have better preparations and for an event like that, and it might take for the team to travel over there and do testing 2 weeks early to be prepared for what you'd be up against if a track came up like that again.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Let's hope that another one doesn't it real soon, but I'm sure that they're going to be picking more difficult terrain to help combat the
yeah,
Americans.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I hope they continue to fight, like try to keep coming at our weak points because it's going to make us stronger. Because I know if we re-racked them this next weekend there, that our preparation would be so much better with our machines and suspension that we'd be ready to fight, and I think that's the beauty of, racing. You get your teeth kicked in and you know, you put your mouthpiece in, get back in there and go box again.
Right on. Right on. Um, this year you got to work with two guys, um, Thomas Brown, who's a friend and was a competitor, and he became your mechanic this year. That had to have been really special for you, as well as one of your former mechanics got to go with you to the Quadcross of Nations, Paul Turner. Uh,
Yeah.
that had to be pretty awesome for you.
Oh, it was incredible. Like, especially like Thomas kind of spitballing about the idea to if I ever needed a mechanic that he'd be up for it. And, it's awesome because he's my best friend and we get along so well. The trust that I have for him and the trust in his eye watching the machine. And it's, it was a season, it was a great season with him. Our expectations were not necessarily met like going through the season, but to like finishing off the season like that, like it's kind of like just poetry, just how the season came and you know how it all worked out. But it was awesome to have Thomas there and having my back, through the good and the bad. Like even in the past years, like the guy would still call me if, I didn't have a good race or if I had a good race. He was still there to talk and, be in my corner, support me and that's what a true friend is, and true people behind you are there when it's good or bad. And, that's, I really appreciate that from him. And then, on top of that, his wife, being okay for me to, take him off for the weekends and be away from his family and, her to take up the slack. So that's awesome of Brandy to be on board with that. And, we had several test days and practice days together with Thomas and and, I just soaked that in as much because I knew it wasn't going to last forever. And, on the, to share that last race together and, seeing the good things on the pit board and, bringing that race home at the end and, being able to hold that number one overall at the end of the weekend is so special. I'm so glad that we got to do it together. And, um, the next thing with, Paul Turner, I mean, shoot, Thomas was reaching out to me. He's like, man, like, I'm gonna have to miss a lot of work to go to the nations. And I'm like, and he's like, I don't really enjoy Europe as much as like you do or anything like that. So if you want to like ask around if anybody wants to do it, but if you need me, I'm there. And I'm like thinking around and I'm like, you know, like maybe I'll reach out to Paul and see, because I talk to Paul like quite a bit still. I'll talk to him on the way to the races and stuff, and he still cuts my harnesses. And I was like, hey, Paul. He was like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, oh, not much, just seeing if you want to come to the nations with me in the Netherlands. He's like, really? Say, man, I'm honored. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm pumped. He's like, well, let me talk to my boss and talk to my wife and I'll let you know. And he's like, don't tell anybody though. And I'm like, all right, I won't tell anybody, if you're in. And I get to the race and I talk to Jim Hardy, and Jim Hardy's is like, yo, I heard a little birdie's going to the nations with you. I'm like, what? I'm like, he's like, yeah, I heard Turner's going to go to the nations. And I heard it from Hardy before Paul told me that he said yes. He was so pumped he's calling his friends.
Well, I always like to talk to all the mechanics because that's what I did for most of my career.
Yep.
And it's a special thing to I've got to go to Pondezvous as a mechanic and a rider, and that's just extremely awesome. When in 1993 we won the first time over there, the American team, and it's such an honor. I mean, to go and be part of the nation's team, to put that on your resume and have that be something that you've done. Uh, I was so happy for Paul and jealous at the same time.
Mhm.
It's just an incredible thing. Um,
Yeah, it is. It is. And he really took advantage of it. He enjoyed the moments. He enjoyed the stressful times. And he rose to the occasion. Like that was a race that was gonna push our machines to the limit, and he kept the machine on the tracks, and that was huge. For our team and myself, and to continue that trust that I have with him as well. Like he hasn't worked for me for shoot. It's been close to 10 years or 9 years. Yeah. So like it's been a while, but we picked up just like we left off. So it was extra special, old loud PT, and the European fans got to experience Paul as well. So that was fun.
that is pretty awesome. It would have been a lot of fun to have been there to watch that because he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I love him to death. So
Yeah, oh, he brings the energy. And shoot, on top of that, that was his wedding anniversary that weekend too. So huge. So pretty awesome to, and sweet of his wife to, let him come and be a part of that with us, and the whole team got along so well, and it was special times, and I won't forget them.
Dude, that's awesome. So, dreams that were left unfulfilled.
Uh, I mean, honestly, like the dream life that I've been able to live so far is I can't ask for anything more. I mean, yes, I would love to win more championships, but I never dreamed. I mean, yes, I dreamed of winning a championship, but let alone eight. Like it's been a dream ride, and all the wins that I've had, and I've raced against some of the greatest riders that ever raced an ATV, and be a part of that era of just the best time to be in ATV racing. I'm strongly believe of that, and um, I think the biggest things is I wish that I raced in the Pace Series, like back when the Pace Series was going on. Like I was so close to going to an event. My it would have been, what was the last year they had them, and anyways, and I was very very into going, and I decided not to, and I wish that I'd been able to go and experience that and race in the stadiums.
It was pretty fun stuff. Like Mickey Thompson stuff was great.
Yep.
Television coverage, clean bikes, uh,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
equipment didn't get destroyed. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. That would have been the good time to be alive there too, and probably the parties that you had afterwards. I guess the camaraderie with the riders would have been something where like you hear like Supercross, and I guess earlier like the 90s and early 2000s of Supercross and the 80s. How they just had fun. They just they rode their dirt bikes and they went to go play. They did whatever they wanted, afterwards. And I think that would have been kind of fun to experience and have that camaraderie with the riders. And I think nowadays, like everybody's very, very, very competitive, and they don't necessarily want to ride with each other so much. They want to kind of keep to themselves, and so it's kind of more like not necessarily cutthroat, but it's more out for the money and try to be the best, because there's not many spots that do like pay you to be a second or third place guy. You got to be a winning guy.
right.
Mhm.
What race did you never win that you wanted to?
Let's see. I never won an overall at High Point. I've always gone like a 3-1 or a 1-3 or something like that, and that's been one that's eluded me a little bit, but um, yeah, I think it's probably one of the few that we've gone to that much that I haven't won at. But I gave her I gave it everything I had at times, but there was just something maybe a little cloud that hung over that place when I went there. I guess I don't know.
There's got to be a race that you want to do that's on your bucket list still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like my plans for the upcoming year are to do events like that, that I want to do. I want to go back to Argentina and race there. I have so much fun doing that event in Duro del Verano, and working on some plans for that. And also um the sand championship over in Europe. I
Mhm.
think doing new races, like that are new to me and different, like I've done motocross for so long, and trying to do some different things and just having fun. It's a low pressure event for me. Like, yeah, I'd like to go out and win them, but it's not it's not like I'm trying to go out and win a championship to, you know, feed my family because I need to do well. Like that's just kind of like doing those one-off events that, are just go out and have fun and enjoy the time spent. I'm going to bring my family with me too, and just enjoy those times that are left.
That's freaking outstanding.
Yeah.
What do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Oh, let's see. That I think the biggest thing is that
Are you ready to be captivated by one of nature's masterpieces? Discover the breathtaking beauty of Antelope Slot Canyon, a natural wonder in Page, Arizona. Join us on a guided tour and immerse yourself in the mystical light beams, rich colors, and serene landscapes. With tours at prime sunbeam hours, experience photographer's paradise and capture memories that will last a lifetime. Comfortable shoes, a camera, and a smile are all you need for this adventure. Book your journey today at Antelope Slot Canyon Tours and let the canyon enchant you. Please visit us now, antelopeslotcanyon.com, for more details.
I think my coach in high school, he always praised like being a gentleman and being proper with people and working hard. He was a guy that you didn't want to be the person that let the team down because you were letting him down too. And just holding that standard to myself that he always told me you work your butt off and you want it bad enough and you keep doing it, you're gonna things could fall your way. Saying like he's not saying that they're going to, but the I think just rolling with the punches and being very focused on that. And I think that was something that I had to learn along the way. And just knowing that everything's gonna be all right. And I think it's because I went through some not necessarily bad times, but there's been times where you just don't know how things are gonna go, and you stress about them, but eventually you just let them go because you're on to the next thing. So, and learning not to stress over those changes in life and being okay with change and just go attack the change and not be scared of it.
I got a memory. You probably don't remember this. Uh, we were at the outdoor national in Elsinore, and I was sitting up in the stands with my son and some of his buddies.
Hmm.
You were there with the Yamaha guys, and I had seen you, but I didn't want to interrupt. You guys were doing something, and I didn't want to interrupt. And I was looking off a different direction, and you popped over and you hollered my name and walked over and shook my hand. And my son and his buddies kind of knew who you were, but my son idolizing it, and his jaw bounces off the bleachers, and you know him, and I go, yeah, I know him, yeah, and
That's cool.
and he came over and shook your hand, and I go, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't see that coming, but it's a memory that not everybody gets, and I appreciated that so much.
Oh yeah, that was at the Lake Elsinore Dirt Bike National.
Yep,
Yeah. Yep. Oh,
Dunsey
yeah.
won.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was like that track was some crazy dirt there. Like I couldn't believe how fast they were going and how baked and crazy the dirt was there. Like it's pretty wild.
I rode a big six race there years later, and I actually didn't like it.
No?
No, it was kind of unpredictable for me. Maybe it
Yeah.
was the tires, maybe it was just the fact that I'm not a very good two-wheeler rider, but it was just unpredictable. I didn't.
Yeah, man. Look edgy as can be, honestly. Yeah.
It wasn't that bad, but for me, that I mean, plus when you're going as slow as I did, the edges don't really bother you.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
cool. I'm glad of that.
it's a great deal. Hey, did you have any regrets or things that you'd change in your career?
Um, no, like nothing that pops offhand, man. I mean, it was like with Suzuki, like my door closed with Suzuki, my door opened with Kawasaki, the door closed with Kawasaki, my door opened with Can-Am. Like for a while there, I was passing through teams like, just a change of underwear, it was like cup 1, 2 years and gone. But that led me to where I am today and led me on the path of, where I'm at. And, you know, it's uh it's an awesome road. Maybe there is one thing that I would change when I guess when Joel spit um a link off of his chain that year and I spit one off the year after, and not being like, hey, maybe I should go to a rivet link. Maybe that would be a regret there.
Well, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Same problem, different year, each guy.
Yep. Yep. And like his happened at the final round, but mine happened at Redbud, and that put the nail in the coffin for my championship. But he was leading the championship, and I was leading the championship when both those times happened. So it was kind of like one gift back to another.
Wow. Funniest thing that you can remember during your career?
Oh, let's see. Um, I would say I think I think a funny thing, it happened recently. It was we were at the Nations, and Paul, my mechanic, and our exhausts are so quiet there that I am coming around the mechanics area, and I am on the struggle bus, and he is just he's like yelling me at, I can hear him clear as day. Go, go. And I'm like, I can't go anymore. So I have a good laugh in my helmet because every single lap he's coming around, he's cheering me on to go, and I'm just like in my helmet, like I'm like I am like back to him, like like I'm doing everything I can. So I think that would be like a fun, like probably one of the more funny moments that I remember, just sitting on the seat right now. But yeah, I think that would be one of those. It had to do with Paul. I think if it were a different one, just the way that he's such a fun guy and funny, and just enjoy that time.
The one thing, well, I don't know how to phrase this question exactly, but the thing you'll miss the most, I'm going to just say ATV motocross,
Yeah,
uh, prepping for the season or during the season.
I think the biggest thing is having that every day, like you're chasing to be better on the machine. I love the process of getting ready for a season and just starting to dig deep and get that boot camp in and stuff like that. And I love the day-to-day grind. And yeah, there are days that I don't enjoy it, but I would say, 98% of the days that I've been around an ATV, I just love doing that a lot. And I mean, my plan is to continue obviously riding, but I think it'll be stepping back from just having that mindset of, just going out there to grind to be better. Like I'm gonna be preparing for certain events, but it won't be January or December 26th, I'm in the motorhome, I'm heading to Florida, and here we go. We're getting ready for Daytona. It's going to be a different mindset, but it'll be also good because I have the riders that I coach, so I'm going to be there with them. I'll be on track with them at times. So, like, I think it's going to be um, a little bit, obviously a lot less, but I'll still also be in the middle of it with them.
So one of your disciples came out west and put it on the guys at the World Off Road Championship Series, Max Lindquist. I'm sure you and him have spoke about it. Uh, he is one of the guys that um, a lot of us feel would be your pick to carry your banner.
Yeah, yeah, we're very close, and yeah, I was pumped to hear that he's been going out there a lot, and he enjoys doing that event there at Mesquite, and he's a racer. He just loves to race, and it's cool for him to get a win there, and he's been trending. I think he's got a lot to show and a lot to improve to. I believe that he can be the next guy, and it's going to take a lot of work for him, but I believe in him, so I'm putting that good effort into him, and he's a big part of our Wienen Motorsports program, and I good family too, great family to be around, and good people, and it's a big thing to me.
You know, you and Joel have been racing together for a long time, and for a couple of years there, you had pretty heavy duty um, rivalry.
Mm.
How do you guys look at each other now when you go to Quadcross of Nations and you're at a different level? I mean, if you're the rider coach for the team, do you think he's a guy that's going to listen or come and talk with you about certain situations?
Um, I mean, I hope so. Like, I think as our career is like prolonged and he's on a different level right now than where I've been able to get back to, and we have a lot more like uh, you know better interesting conversations about racing and riding and the track conditions, so it's nice that we can share, like, because we have something together that we push each other to our limits, and we're during the week we're pushing to beat each other's butts, and that's just it's something that not many riders can share because they like there's a lot of riders out there that don't know what goes into a championship winning season. Everything that goes into it, the stresses, the hard times, the good times, and there's there's nothing more that weighs on your shoulders than bringing home a championship. And when you hold that number one plate, it's the weight is like off your shoulders for a good couple months, and then it gets back to where you are getting back into your mode that you're going out to get ready for the next season. So, and I think that we have a lot to share there, and the stories, I guess, and I think it's good to talk about those things too.
I can see you guys sitting on a beach when you're both not racing anymore, watching your kids in their teenage years surf or ride jet skis, drinking cocktails, bench racing. I really can see that because
Yeah, be fun. Be fun to get, uh, obviously a group of guys and stuff like that and their families, to that's like one of the things that you miss, when, like good friend Josh Treamer, like we spent a lot of time together, going through our pro years, and once he, stepped away from racing, we don't see each other as much. We talk to each other here and there, but he just had a baby girl, and I think that this next chapter, kind of my goal is to be more around like my friends that I miss and haven't been able to. You're in racing, it's hard to step away and cut away for a weekend because you don't want to, basically take any steps back. You want to only progress forward, and, to be able to enjoy those times with those friends and try to reconnect, and because there's a lot there other than just racing each other. There's a lot of memories that we made.
when you look back at sacrifice, how do you explain that to riders that you're educating or that you're working with? Because there's a ton of self-sacrifice that you have went through,
Hmm.
be the 8-time national champion or just the guy that was fighting for those championships for all of those years.
Yeah, I think it's a step process, and I'm working a lot with that, with Max and even Andrix, this I mean, Andrix is 16 years old, so it's like you don't want to put too much of that on him yet because you want him to still progress and, not still enjoy racing and still want to be around it and not be totally this is all that he wants to do and all that he does. He'll create that on his own if he wants to be there and be a part of that because one thing I'm noticing a lot with him is he's becoming a student of the sport and watching and intaking, and he translate that to his riding and going to the nations and wanting to be there and see it, and that just tells you how much he really really enjoys being around it and wants to be in that spot one day. And then also, you know like with Max, having very important years up ahead of him, whether it's going to be, that next step or, because honestly, like he's in his low 20s and, it's time to either take that next step and be that consistent podium guy and work on some wins, or it's time to maybe think about, maybe this isn't necessarily going to work out, but like it's because it costs so much money for him to do it, and the support isn't the greatest at the moment. So it's like it's go time, and like he's ready to put in the effort, and I'm ready to put in the effort into him, and see where this goes. And I think this next year is going to be a big year to decide that.
I agree. I totally agree. Before I let you go, I want to say thank you so much for you being the man you are and being so humble. Um, People like myself really appreciate that because um, greatness is something that doesn't come around every day, and you will always be in the history books as one of the greatest, if not the greatest. So I wanted to say that, and I appreciate everything that you've done and do for the sport. This portion of your opinion, I think, is going to actually weigh heavier on our sport than anything, and that's ATVMX just lost five people. Five, yourself, Janusa,
Hmm.
Strelly. I mean, and you have a sixth that's injured. Um, what is that going to do for the sport?
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace those people, obviously, but it gives opportunity to other riders that to step up and get their piece of the pie, per se, and create their own like legendary career. That that's the path that they're ready to go down and make the sacrifices to do it. And like, yeah, it's a tough year for riders stepping away, but I think it's just a testament that it doesn't last forever, and enjoy all the moments that you get with them, and try to enjoy those moments when you're in them, and not just on to the next, because um, before you know it, you'll be flashing by and you'll be just thinking about the past and how good it was, and and on to the next. But yeah, I mean, it's a part of life, and I'm still gonna be around and be a part of the ATV motocross, and just see at what level here, and and it's definitely not a goodbye. It's just a step away from that full-time deal, and I appreciate the words, Leonard, and you know I want to be proud of a person that my 7, 8, 9 year old self would have been proud to know. And I think I think I need to keep on being that person and be the best that I can.
You're doing a great job, and I'm sure that your kids think the world of you and are watching and learning, um, because that's only going to set them up in their life to be good people as well.
Oh yeah, thanks. I actually had a cool experience with a rider up in Canada this weekend when I was at a race there. It was his first race, and I pull up next to him up to the gate, and he looks over at me and he's like, "Are you Chad Wienen?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" He's like, "Dude, how cool is it that you're pulling up next to me? It's my first race." And I'm like, "Awesome." And the photographer was there and he's taking a picture of me. I'm like, "Hey, can you take a picture of us? This is this guy's first race, and this would be should be a cool memory for both of us because like this is me kind of stepping away, and this is kind of like, hey, like here's a new guy, stepping in, and who knows, like this could be the next guy." So it's kind of like, and took the photo. The guy sent me a message today. He's like, "Man, like that was so awesome. You pulled up next to me. You talked to me. Like I appreciate the words." I told him about my first race, and I was like, "Man, my first race, I went to a local race. I was racing a Banshee. I won the first moto and I crashed the second moto. I'm like, whatever you do, try not to crash. Just try to get through the race and do all that." And he messaged me and he's like, "Yeah, like, I had a good race. I wish I would have done better, but I didn't crash." I'm like, "Hey, like you're one up in me, like you finished that last moto, so good job." And just it's a cool thing there because it was kind of like something that wasn't set up. It wasn't anything. It's just something that happened, and it was a cool moment.
That kid will be talking about that to his
Mm.
grandchildren.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's awesome, and I really think that stories like that will go around, and people will remember things about you and about your career. Um, even if you decided to step away from the track and go on with your life in a different direction, the stories will never end. There'll always be somebody remembering something. um, I listened to my dad talk about stories that happened when he raced in the 50s and the 60s, and some of the cool things that they did. And no, they were riding different kinds of machines, but this still, the stories are similar.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, and it's cool to be a part of those, and it's I never would have thought that I would be that guy in that story because I remember some of my first times going to the first national and seeing Tim Farr, like he was my hero, and growing up and seeing him at the race and him talking to me at the race, and I still remember that to this day, and here I am telling you the story, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, it's incredible, man.
Yeah.
um, so I can't believe that I got to go to the races and meet all of you guys,
Yeah.
and talk with you guys on a different level, you know, and it transitions and changes, and yeah, it's pretty awesome stuff. I remember Joe Bird when Joe was not even I mean, like early in his career,
Mm.
not on the pro level.
Right.
He was riding amateur. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been around a while, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something to be proud of because um, a lot of the people like these days they probably don't know much about it, and you know you got the memory bank for it, so it's very cool. You've seen it through basically through the start, so that's really something to be proud of, and happy to be a part of that.
Well, check it out. What we're going to have here, one of our episodes coming up is going to be called, it's going to be a history episode of the ATV industry. And that's going to entail going back to the late 60s, early 70s when it really started. And not everybody realizes how far back we go. Most of your kids today think that it started yesterday,
Yeah, yeah.
not that it was done, before their parents were born. So
Yep. Yeah, pretty wild. I look forward to hear that because it'll be a history lesson for myself too.
Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show.